Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to today's conversation. I'm Sarah Jane, and I am delighted to be joined by my co-hosts, Scott Holmes, Scott.
Hey there.
And Diane Woodford, Diane.
Hello.
And our guest, Megan Porta. Hi, Megan.
Hello, everyone.
I'm going to hand over to Diane now because Megan is Diane's guest. And I'm going to have to stop moving because my camera drives me up the wall. Diane, over to you.
Thank you, Sarah Jane. So, Megan Porter. Yes, Megan and I have been acquainted close to a year now, and we were introduced by her amazing husband, Dan Porter. And I have just had the pleasure of learning so much about Megan. She's written a book during our time together, and there's just so much interesting things. We align by both wanting to just feel good about the lives we live. And so with that, I'm going to pass the mic to Megan to tell you more. So Megan, you got the mic.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you, Diane, for that intro. And yeah, I have been an entrepreneur for 15 years, kind of living the life of my dreams, really. And looking back over the 15 years, I see that I wasn't always planning for this to happen, but it just kind of unfolded in this way. And it's great. And like you said, Diane, I've written a book about it and how we've taken the exit from the mainstream, the life that people tell you should live or the roads you should go down. And we've kind of taken the exit off of that road and lived the life that we wanted to live, me and my husband and our 2 boys. So that's kind of where I'm at and a little bit about myself.
So Megan, speaking about where you're at, where are you streaming in from today?
I am in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
All right. So I know just following nudges is a big thing for you as well as your husband and now your boys, right? So let's dive into our conversation here and just tell us more about what taking the exit means to you personally in life.
Well, like I alluded to earlier, I think a lot of us go down a path that others think we should go down, whether it's parents or teachers or well-meaning people in our lives, give us this idea that we should be doing a certain thing. We should go to college, we should get a job, we should have families, and we should behave certain ways and do certain things, and we shouldn't do other things. And it's kind of becomes an autopilot situation where we find ourselves at some point in life and think, wait a second, why am I here? Because I don't really want to be here. So taking the exit means just having that talk with yourself and saying, is this where I actually want to be? Did somebody else create words or beliefs that caused me to be here? And to just intentionally take the reins in your life and do the things that really align with what you really want deep down inside.
That's awesome. I want to pass that question around the panel. So Scott or Sarah, each one, taking the exit. How does that resonate?
So I was just thinking about that because on this panel, my other 2 co-hosts have extraordinary life stories. And they are doing things that I have no doubt that when they were 10, 12, 17 years old, they never thought they'd be where they are at this very moment. In the same way that I never thought I would be. I was a dad. I had three daughters. I got married very young. I knew everything when I was 19 years old, of course, and had all the answers. And by the time I was 25, I had 3 children, 3 jobs, and I realized I didn't know a thing. Absolutely nothing. I had no answers whatsoever. So coming through that and living the life that I was conditioned by my community, by my family, by my parents, I was doing everything the right way. I was doing everything as they did, even though different aspects of life changed. I was doing things the right way. It wasn't until later in life that I realized that I'd always been a little bit different. And I really chafed under all those expectations of doing the right thing, of in their aspects, in their eyes. And having been I don't know about any of you, but I was always kind of looked at as the black sheep of the family because I always asked questions that weren't always comfortable for everybody. I wanted discussions about things other than Aunt Julia's recent surgery, or how everybody was doing or who was getting divorced. I wanted to talk about things that were a little more worldly, if you would. And I always got met with eye roll and, oh, don't worry about those things. Those are just the world. And now I get to explore those parts of the world each and every week. Sara Jane so lovingly has asked me to be with her along a number of these journeys, and I get to meet people from all over the world and get to see and hear and feel what other people are doing, how they are doing it. And it just has opened up my eyes to more and more and more. I'm heading to Egypt in about 5 days. And with everything going on in the Middle East, everybody is around me is like, wow, how could you possibly go to the Middle East? I'm like, well, if something happens in Florida, in the United States, does that mean you can't go to Minnesota? Does that mean you can't go to California? Well, no. Okay. In the same respect, the Middle East isn't just this big. It's huge. It's as big as the United States. And going to the pyramids, going to Egypt, and being able to feel and experience all of those things, it's a different thing. How many times have you seen pictures of the pyramids and the Sphinx? Right, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. The day after I get there, I'm going to be at sunrise at the paws of the Sphinx, standing there. That to me is a wow. That to me is one of those things where you can't put a price on it. It's experiential. It's experiential. So those now are the off-roads that I take that a lot of people, I plan and do to make sure I take every year at least one big trip out of the States. And the number of people who won't go outside the United States because it's not safe, and they're just missing out so much. It's that change, it's that understanding, it's that perspective, it's that collaboration with other people who live in very different ways. And I love it. Yeah. I hope that answered the question.
I think you took a lot of exits there, but I think we were with you on each one. So yes, okay. Scott, you did. Sara Jane.
I spent far too many years being a people pleaser and worrying about what other people thought about me. And it was, well, other than the fact it was the broken jaw and 6 months of pain and sleepless nights that got me to that point of, what am I doing? This is my life. And I remember standing in the kitchen one day and it was just like, why are you worrying about what other people think about you when they're not? And it was a period, it was just a straight, the majority of them aren't. And that was like a weight lifting off my shoulder, if you like. That became, I'd already broken up my marriage by then. That was one aspect of it. I'd already started the exit from the old life into my life. And that was the important thing. It doesn't have to mean for everybody a breakup of a marriage. It did for me. I'm not saying everybody's got to break up a marriage to start a new life. But I'd been so afraid to do anything. And then I sort of moved out of the home. It was just my husband and myself anyway, but I'd moved out. And I saw some information about the UK Wolf Conservation Trust. And as a member of the trust, you could go for a walk with the wolves. I would not have done anything like that for fear of what people thought of me. Yeah. Oh, wow. I not only became a member, I not only went for a walk with the wolves, I became a trainee handler with them. When I do things, I don't tend to do things by halves. But also in their very first wolf print magazine, there was a leaflet to go to Romania to track wolves and lynx in the Carpathian Mountains with the Carpathian Large Carnivore Project. So this isn't to kill, this is study. I wouldn't have anything to do with, they are the most amazing creatures. I got to go on that trip. I started to do things with my life. I have been to Egypt. I have seen the Sphinx and the pyramids. I have seen dolphins in the wild. Yes, I've ridden a camel. I started doing things. I abseiled off the water tower locally to me here. My mother's reaction when I told her was, "Oh, you can't do that." That is exactly the type of attitude that would have stopped me from doing things fast. I've zip wired. I've done a wing walk. I have started to live my life. Yeah. I don't follow the crowd. When I started this, I started it on a wing and a prayer in 2014. I've been going every week since. And I have met amazing people all the way around the world.
Yeah.
Do things, it has to resonate with us. It has to fit with what feels right to us. Our authenticity, our integrity. And so, is it an exit or is it more to point, there's a new door, I'm taking it.
Nice. I love that, Sarah Jane. What a perspective. Taking an exit. So I'm going to pass it back to you, Megan. And just in taking the exit, it just really sounds to me aligning with your true self, aligning with your truth, living the life that you choose to live and doing it unapologetically. So that goes along with choosing a life that actually feels good. So Megan, I'm going to pass it to you with that topic, choosing a life that actually feels good. Talk to us about that, because I know some of your history. So I know that you have been in a life that maybe didn't feel so good. All of us have. So how does that resonate for you? Choosing a life that feels good.
That line resonates so deeply because I have lived a life that didn't feel good. And I think when you have that contrast, you really know what feels good and you appreciate it so very much and you pursue it. So I worked in the corporate world for many years before I decided to quit my job or leave my job. I was actually fired from my job. I was a terrible employee at the end because I just did not like being there. So before I chose that path, that exit, I knew the pain of being there. I had a terrible boss. It was such an ugly situation. My health started to decline. I had a year where I was having panic attacks all year. I wasn't a great mom. I wasn't a great wife. I wasn't a great friend. I was a terrible employee. Like everything just started going downhill. So having that as the backdrop really helped me to see what does feel good. I knew I wanted to create a life of freedom where I could create my own schedule and not just for me, but for my family too, where we could do things on our terms and really dictate what we wanted and what felt good. So I think the first thing for me was having that contrast and knowing what I absolutely did not want before I could know what did feel good and what I did want to pursue. So yeah, after that, it was very clear. I don't want that. I do want this. And things have just kind of fallen into place naturally since then. I lean into my intuition a lot when it comes to what is feeling good and what is also feeling joyful for me and my family. And that's kind of how I go about it. I would never wish that year that I had, that terrible year in the corporate world, on anyone, but I think back on it a lot because it does give me so much perspective about what I want in my life and how to move forward. And I think, is Diane still here? She disappeared.
She'll be right back.
Okay.
Yes. But, I don't know your story. And just putting together a collaborative book called From Burnout to Burning Bright. And it's about overwhelm and burnout. And one of the hard parts for a lot of the authors was, please tell us about the worst point of your life, that pivotal point where you were at your bottom, and please tell the story. How did you come out of that year of? I mean, it sounds like it was relentless, and it was physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, in every aspect. Yeah. And how did you come out of it? How were you able to break that, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of pieces that came together. So I was asked to leave my job, and it was devastating. It was embarrassing. I felt like the biggest loser and biggest failure to everyone. So it took me some time to come down from that and just realize that I wasn't. It just was not an aligned situation. Mm-hmm. I would say it took me a full year to heal in all regards. So I had to heal physically. My body had been through so much. I had to heal emotionally, and I also healed spiritually. And when I think back, like those first few months, I was not even close. I just remember moving really slowly in every way during that time. And I have a point where I remember kind of coming out of it, where I just started feeling more like myself again. But looking back, it did take an entire year of just patience and grace and, taking one step at a time, continuing to move forward, because it was such a rock bottom point in so many ways. So it was a long healing process in every way.
And how did coming back to yourself like that, how, we kind of are very singular when we're going through the healing like that. How did it affect your family, and how did that grow, and what was the process there?
That's a good question. Our boys were really little at the time. They were, like 2 and 5. So they were kind of oblivious, thankfully. There were times like I drove myself to a hospital one night because I just didn't feel like I should be at home. And our boys had no idea what was happening. So that's a huge blessing. It put a lot of strain on my husband because he's, like Diane and I talk about this, he's such a supporter and a champion of mine. And he's always believed in me and all of my businesses and endeavors. And when I decided to sell our home and buy an RV, he supported that. I mean, he's always been so great. So it did put a lot of strain on him because it caused him to have to step up even more. And I started to see that I was stretching him in ways that he wasn't wanting to be stretched, but he was too nice to let me know. So a strain on him, a strain on our marriage. When I lost my job, I was suddenly a full-time entrepreneur, and my business wasn't exactly blooming yet. So it put a lot of strain on us financially because I didn't have a lot of money coming in at the time. Our oldest son has always had a lot of medical issues. So it put a strain on insurance and, like who's going to take care of him with all of his medical stuff. So it was a big deal. It was no joke.
Mm-hmm. Right. So is there a question from, just sharing that you like to put to us? Is there something you like to put to the panel, a question, from just the year? Yeah.
Yeah, I would love. So just hearing kind of about that year, Diane, I was talking about the year that, like the darkest year of my life, where there became contrast so that I could see what I wanted and what was like the really, really bad. And that made me strive for the really, really good.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about if either any of you have ever had a stretch like that really made you yearn for the freedom, or Scott, like you were talking about the travel you get to do, and like what has made you guys really desire the freedom and the different path, I guess, in your lives?
I'm going to take it first here, and I'm going to start with just Charles getting sick in 2021. So before that, we were already living a non-traditional life. Like we were traveling the world already. So even before he got sick, before we hit that wall in 2021, our family and friends had already thought we had flew over the cuckoo's nest because we stepped away from everything. So we were already living a life that people didn't understand nor could explain, right? So when Charles got sick and we were in hospital, one of the things, and the doctor's steady telling me, he's not going to live, telling me to, just get ready for the ends of time, be ready to be a widow, call in the family and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, you can miss me with all of that because we're going to come out. So yeah, you can take that conversation away. Right. And I wasn't doing it in an unrealistic way. My history as a critical care nurse, I know reality. So that's not what I was doing. I was doing it from a knowing within my soul and my spirit, just knowing from the download that we were coming through this and it was a reason. And even though at the time I didn't understand it, but just understand we're coming out. And that is the anchor that I held on to, and it pulled me through. So we pivot and fast forward to after that. Everything pretty much in life we wanted to do, but we hadn't traveled to Europe. We started like 10 years prior to that, trying to get to that journey. And so, as you know, Megan, the first time we spoke on camera, I was in Dijon, France. Yep. So, I was like already over there. I think I talked to you, Scott, from Lyon. Mm-hmm. Sara, we did a beach walk in Bournemouth. So, that travel, it happened. And what happened was, when you say contrast, Megan, just that life and death, literally, right? Literally being on the cusp of life and death makes you clearly see what's important. And it makes you clearly shut down the excuses that we use to keep ourselves stuck. Well, I need my money level to be at this. I need my this to be at that, and I'm going to say candidly here that if I waited for my money level to be comfortable to take a step, then I would never move. You have to take the steps and just know that what you need is going to come. You either trust or you don't. So in our darkest times, we saw the light of opportunity to go for it and just let nothing stop us. It made the essence of a breath so much more important, because when you see your loved one on life support, after, years of taking care of people on life support, when you see your loved one there having a machine to help them breathe, when they can breathe again, we're making every breath count. We're making every breath count. So throw it up at you, Sara.
The people-pleasing thing, it was that waking up from that. And I came out of my marriage And the company I was working for also got taken over. But I didn't see that as a bad thing. I was working in insurance. And that's how I got down to Bournemouth, because the company I was working for got taken over by a company in Bournemouth. And I got the chance to move down here and then take redundancy, having just bought my little house. And literally within 6 days, walking into another job. I was never a lover of working in insurance. I spent far too many years working in it. And eventually it sort of got to the stage where I'd started with complementary therapies. I'd learned Reiki, metamorphic technique, learning Indian head massage and Thai foot massage and ear candling. And it was just like, I wish to be a complementary therapist. And so I resigned with no idea how any of it was going to work at all. And then my friend Trevor, he's like a big brother, and we share the house we now have. He said, oh, these friends of mine, they've bought a house in Australia. The house is up for sale. He wanted to get back on the housing market. He said, there's a room out the back you could use as a therapy room. We should never, ever, ever, ever have been able to have afforded this house. We still have a whacking great mortgage on it. He's 74. I'm practically 68. It's just like, and there's no way we've got of paying it off. And we've been here over 20 years.
Oh.
So don't ask me how we've done it. We have. I've had trips over to the States and done talks at messenger summits and and I've been to Egypt and I've been to some other places, and I've started doing all of this, and my life has changed beyond everything. I couldn't have imagined this even when we moved into this house just over 20 years ago. But it's gone the way it was meant to. But I remember standing in my little house I had at the time. And I was standing in the bedroom, and I don't hear voices, I don't see things. But the words were in my head, and I'd just resigned from work. Time to move on. And it was just like, what are you talking about? I've just resigned from my job. What are you talking about? What are you saying? I said, am I moving? If I'm moving, where am I moving to? And I just looked upwards and said, you bring it, I'll do it. And that's when Trevor phoned me and told me about this house. And it was just like, and the house is called Nathania, which apparently means God's gift.
What?
The postcode ends RA. And at one stage, my younger sister was insisting on calling me Sara. I hate Sara. So I said, look, you can call me R.A. And there is a beautiful marble statue in the garden of Mother Mary.
What?
And this sits on the cross of two ley lines, the house does. So sort of, seriously, I'm meant to be here. Mm. And if you are meant to be somewhere, regardless of whether you should or shouldn't have been able to do it, or should be able to do it, it will happen. Mm. And it has to be when that exit comes, or that door opening to a new life, you have to have the courage to take it. There were problems with the purchase of the house. Well, they all needed the problems. I didn't, so I knew it was going to be fine. It was that confidence knowing that is what I'd been told.
Yeah.
In those few words, time to move on.
Wow.
So, Scott.
That does come down to trust, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
Anytime you're driving down the highway and you take an exit and you don't know what's on the other side, it takes trust. I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I didn't trust a lot. I thought I could control most everything. I tried to control my environment. I tried to control it. And what I did was put on layers. So I had this armor on, right? So that I could bust down walls. I could, hack my way through anything. I put up castle walls. I built a moat so that everybody within my purview could be safe until my youngest daughter got sick, and she almost passed. She was about this point, just this much, before she had passed, and she survived. And in that time, I'm standing outside the PICU, pediatric ICU. It is probably one of the scariest places I've ever been. Kids that are walking that line between life and death. And I just threw my arms up and I said, okay, bring it on. Whatever I got, whatever I have to do, please let me know. Mm-hmm. And for me, that was when I lost my mortality, that I knew I wasn't going to live forever and that everybody around me wasn't going to live forever. And I had to make a point of living my life as much as I possibly could from that point onward. Going through my wife's breast cancer. She was a 20-year breast cancer survivor. And yes, she passed from breast cancer. However, I got 20 years of her. Were they all great years? Absolutely not, especially for her, because she had to go through absolutely just horrible, horrible stuff between chemo and radiation and FDA studies and long stays in the hospital and all of those things. But I got to have her for that much longer. So when I get to this point in my life, I didn't know which way to go. I got married when I was 19. I had a full house, my girls with their friends, with dogs, with cats, with everything else, for 40 years. And I just didn't know where to go. Mm-hmm. And so again, having faith, allowing change into my life, knowing that I had to change, that things were never going to be the same, and being able to walk forward and really discovering and having that curiosity about what was around the next bend. My buddy and I, on our 60th birthday, we were both turning 60. And when we graduated college, we were going to do the Europe thing, the college Europe thing. We didn't get there. But at 60 years old, we went to Europe. I'd always wanted to go back. When I was a kid, I'd been in France and England. My dad was in the Air Force, and I had been there, and I really wanted to go back. And so we did 8 countries, drove 2,600 miles, and 17 days. Ooh. At the time of our lives, Airbnb all the way. And one day to the next, we never knew where we were going. We would pick a direction, and we would go. And it was the most freedom that I had ever had. And so we literally were taking the road less traveled that we had never traveled. And the funny thing, we would look at each other and say, are we lost? Well, if you don't know where you're going, you can't be lost. Because it's always a new turn, always a new way. Everything is new. We would go down alleyways in the old towns of some of these small towns, and we would find incredible sights that only the locals knew because there were no signs, right? The old towns. You'd walk down these cobblestones, you'd walk down this alley, and all of a sudden it opens up and there's this piazza, and you would have all of these beautiful shops and restaurants. And so it was, for me, a turning point in my life to let me know that I could do almost anything. And that, just the ability that, hey, something's going to happen. Is it good or bad? No, it just is. It's just experience. And not judging it. And that was, for me, how I decided I was going to live the last half of my life. Next 40 years, I often say I have a contract to live till I'm 100. So my next 40 years are going to be as wide open as I possibly can get there. And Diane, your inspiration. I'd love to be able to travel as much as you do, but I will settle for, 3 trips a year. Megan, I want to know your story about what you do. You wrote a book. That's not a small feat. We've all written. We're all authors, but yes, tell us about it.
Yeah.
Well, I referenced this a little bit, but let's see, how long was that after? So after I lost my job, it was probably 5 years after that. And I had this really strong nudge to sell our home, which we didn't love, and to buy an RV and to travel for the summer. I mean, it was like there was no other option. You guys have all talked about that. Like when you know something is right, you just know. And Sara, I loved what you were saying about everyone else was worried about something coming together and you weren't because you knew it. That's exactly how I was about this trip. Or the ordeal, like selling our home was a big deal, right? And buying an RV. We had 2 little boys and a puppy, and everyone was like, you can't do that. That's crazy. We have our oldest son has a lot of medical issues, but he's also on the autism spectrum. So people were telling us that we were crazy for even considering taking him on the road. You have 2 little boys, you have a puppy. He was a 6-month-old puppy. Like, you can't do that. We had so many people saying this, but I just knew it. I knew we had to do it for some reason. And everything came together so magically. When I look back and tell people the story, it's almost like it was fake because there were so many things going against us and so many people who didn't believe that we would make it happen or should make it happen. But none of that mattered because it just it all aligned absolutely perfectly. So we took the trip that summer. We spent the entire summer going through the western part of the United States in our RV. We didn't have a home to come back to. We did end up buying the home we're at now, which we love. It was the perfect home ever for us. But since then, so it's been 10 years, we have traveled in our RV every summer since then. And I am actually, ironically, sitting in the RV right now, and not by choice, because we had a flood in our basement. So this past summer was our 10th year that we were on the road. And I had decided to shut work down for 2 weeks while we were on this trip. I've never shut work down since I became an entrepreneur in 2010, ever, for that long. So it was a big deal. And we were on day 2, we were on the road. I remember I was sitting right across from where I'm at now. My husband was driving the RV. And I was reading Stephen King's book on writing. If you've never read it, it's so great. And I had this distinct moment where it was just like a voice, like your voice, Sara. It just came to me and it said, you need to document this journey in a book. And I was like, no, I can't. I have so many projects. I have to go back to work. Like, we have to take the trip and I have work to do. And, filling in all the excuses. So I pushed it out of my head. I told my husband about it and he was like, well, that's a good idea. You should do that. Like, I'm just going to sit on it for a little bit. So we took the trip. 2-ish weeks later, we were on our way back home in the RV. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to open my laptop and see what happens. I'm just going to start writing. It was like this flood of story was just lurking inside of me, just waiting for me to put my fingers to the keyboard. The entire story came out in 2 months. I did not write an outline. I did not plan anything about the book. It literally just flowed out of me like this waterfall of information and stories and adventures and near-death experiences we've had on the road and so many things, life lessons. Oh my gosh. So yeah, it took me 2 months. I wrote it, a friend edited it and published it within not too long after that. So, and the adventure is still going. We are still traveling in the RV. We plan to do another trip this summer, but our boys are in their late teens now. So my husband and I are feeling that kind of sadness. We know the chapter's closing, but it's bittersweet because we've just like juiced the situation so much and had such a blast doing it.
How do people find your book?
Right now it's only on my website, so meganporta.com. Eventually I'll get it on other platforms. Life has been a little bit busy this season, so it's there. You can find it there.
Mm-hmm. I found it. Well, actually, I found it through Dan, her husband and big cheerleader. Shout out to Dan.
Yay.
Yeah. So, the road less traveled, I feel like that is really a great way for us to segue into the conclusion of our wonderful discussion. It's like the road less traveled, right? We talked about taking the exits, and when Scott was saying about just taking that road less traveled, it ding 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 for me, right? And so I just want to go around the panel and just give just a road less traveled moment. And I'll open it up. And that would be 10 years ago, well, now almost 11, when I walked away from being a professor, and just a promotion. Best job of my life, making the most money I ever made. And they were going to give me a raise. And it's just like where it's like, okay, that nudge, right? To just walk away from it. And when you take the road less traveled, you are going to try to convince yourself that that's dangerous, it's irrational, it doesn't make any sense. What if I get on that road and I get stuck? What if I die on that road? Nobody's gonna, find me, nobody's gonna come for me. But here's the thing. When you're called to take a road less traveled, your peace will not let you go. It's like a nudge, a shake. It's just like you can't align the perfectly aligned things in and around your life because it's like you have to take that road. You, like Sara said, how she got the words downloaded and then you the same. And I think we all can say in some way, we get caught out into that road less traveled. So for us, the road less traveled was to walk away from a beautiful life in Pasadena, California, that made sense to everyone, including us, to pretty much a desert moment because our road less traveled took us through the deserts of California, then the deserts of Arizona, and then into Nashville and just around the world, right? But it took us to the desert and we went into that desert and we were purged, we were changed, and then we were ready to do the things that we do today. So it's like on those roads less traveled is where the preparation is found. So I'm going to throw it out and anyone just pick it up and pass it. Road less traveled moment.
So this one's a little out there. So a friend of mine was a medium, and I had seen her a couple times, and so I sat down opposite her. So she starts the reading, and then she starts looking, and she starts talking to somebody I can't see. I don't see people. I can't do any of that. And she's going, no, I don't understand. And she's arguing with him. And I don't. There's nobody else there, okay? She says, I don't understand. What is it? She looks at me and shakes her head frustrated. I said, what was it? She said, that was one of your guides. I was like, okay. Said he had a turban on, he had a long beard, and he was very short on explanation. I said, well, what did he say? He said, tell him he has to go to Penang and he has to find his soul parts. Tell him he has to go. And he walked off. And I said, what does that mean? I don't understand any of that. She said, I don't either. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you're supposed to know this stuff. I don't know any of it. So when we're done, he also said, I have to go to the Burmese Buddhist temple. So we looked up Penang. Penang is in Malaysia. It's part of Malaysia. It's a large island, part of Malaysia. Okay. there's only one Burmese Buddhist temple. And in it, it has a 40-foot golden Buddha. It is a Buddha that is encased in gold. Like, okay. Well, what am I supposed to do? She said, you collect your soul parts. I said, what the heck does that mean? She says, I'm really not sure. So I walked through that, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a little crazy. All right, got it. I keep getting the nudge. So I had been to Vietnam and Cambodia, Thailand, with my buddy that I went to Europe with. And Gate 1 tours, and I get an email, and it says, Singapore, Malaysia, trip. And I'm like, you're kidding me. So I look up the itinerary. You go to Singapore, and then you go to Kuala Lumpur, and then you do other. And the very last stop is Penang. I'm looking, I'm like, okay. I look up the hotel. I look up where the temple is. 3 blocks. 3 blocks different. The hotel we were staying at to the temple. All right, I got it. Get you. Talk about a nudge, right? I kind of got pushed all the way down the stairs. So at the time, I looked at my girlfriend and I said, Patty, I said, how would you like to take a trip? It's going to take 24 hours to get there on a plane. You're probably not going to like the food very much. It's going to be really hot, and you're going to be on a bus with 28 strangers. And she just went, okay. She didn't even have her visa at the time. She didn't have it. And so we had to do all of that. And so 9 months later, we're on a plane, and we get there, go through all of the trip. And on the very last day of the trip, we were supposed to have some time left. And so I was just going to take a taxi to go to the temple. But instead, the tour guide, who knew why I was there, stops the bus, and everybody gets out at the temple. He made it the last stop that we were going to see. So I was just overwhelmed. So I go there, you have to take your shoes off. You're walking in socks on these beautiful marble floors. And I'm standing in front of this 40-foot Buddha. And I have taken all of this trip, these thousands of miles and this entire trip. And now I'm in front of the Buddha, and I have no idea what the heck to do. I don't know what do I do? I don't, I work so hard to get here, and then I just don't know. And so I just gave it up. And I just said, if there are any soul parts here that are mine, I invite you in. And I'm concentrating and have my eyes shut, and I just see in my mind's eye 3 small orbs come out from behind the Buddha and come down. And I'm like, holy crap. And I didn't, my girlfriend snaps me on the shoulder and says, hey, we got to go. The bus, they're waiting. We're the last ones on the bus. And it took me quite a while to really understand fully what happened. But I followed the direction. Didn't see anything. You talk about faith, you talk about trust, you talk about all of those things. And that was because I was guided to do that. And it changed my life and how I see things. That faith, when you get that nudge, you can indeed do incredible, miraculous things, and life will just align for you.
Yeah. Whew.
Yeah.
Sara Jane.
Well, I can't top that one. I've done a couple of little workshops here, and ended up doing something different with each of them. And I remember thinking afterwards, I was thinking, right, we know about the angels, different angels and archangels, and why they might visit us and messages they may have for us. There's aspects about, sort of different animals the oracle cards, if you like. And I suddenly thought, but what if one of the mythical beings appears? What message is there? With the mythical beings? Well, we know that the angels and the fairies and sort of actually now, obviously, there's quite a lot in respect of dragons and some others that are there, unicorns. But on the whole, it was just like I couldn't find anything. And I kept racking my brains as to how do I find it? Internet searches, book searches, all sorts of things. This was back at the end of 2009, I think. And I was in the car one day thinking about it, driving along. That voice came again. You're doing it. Right. Okay. So I got a couple of books about the different mythical beings. And I would just flip a page and I'd read a little bit about the mythical being. And I got pen and paper and I sat with pen and paper. I wasn't allowed to sit at the computer. And having read a bit, there would almost be a word that would come out from that would pop out. And I'd find myself writing a message from that being. Now, this wasn't just the friendly beings. But one of the very first things that they told me was, please do not share our myths and legends. So many of them have been distorted to create fear. So there's the werewolf, there's the vampire, there's various others that people would be, or depending on where you are in the world as to whether dragons are good or whether they're bad, sort of, they've definitely got the dragons. And so I found myself writing these messages from, I think there were 57 of them originally. And they're all beautiful messages from all of them. But the dragon message, they told me we all have our own guardian dragon. We've been given our own guardian dragon. And then they said, there is an aspect of our myth and legend that is true. We do guard over a treasure. You are your dragon's treasure. And then I discovered I was working with the dragons that guard over the Earth's crystals. And then I discovered I speak light language. I channel. The Reiki was the start of that. Then working with I'm not sure where the toning came in. I channel that. I channel the Reiki. I channel the toning. I channel from the mythical beings and the dragons. And I channel the light language.
Beautifully.
Yeah, that is. And I can say before I pass it to you, Megan, to anyone that's listening, if you don't understand, it's okay. It's okay to not fully understand. What it's not okay is to be judgmental or dismissive about something that you don't fully understand. And so what I can say, like I said before I pass it to Megan, is a couple of weeks ago when I was in the DR and I was talking with Sara Jane, and we were having a conversation, and she says, she asked if she could, just sing my name. She did sound with my name, right? And she was just saying my name, and it's very difficult to explain because it's something that you feel even more than you hear. But what I can say is this: after we did that, it was a distinct pivot and shift, and it got really light and things got better really, really fast. Again, I don't fully understand it to explain it, but what I can say is that it aligned and it pivoted and it lifted what needed to be lifted off from me. You don't have to understand it. It's okay. But in your not understanding, at least be non-judgmental and maybe be open or not. But what I can say is my personal experience with the offerings that Sarah Jane has, phenomenal. And that's not even the only one. That's just the latest one, but phenomenal. So with that, I'm going to say to you, Megan, in closing us out, a road less traveled moment that you.
Yeah, I've shared probably my bigger ones, but one other one I can think of was before my bad year that I referred to in the corporate world that year. I had a moment after our second son was born when I had just gone back to work after maternity leave. I was so sad, like devastatingly sad. I missed him. I missed our boys. I just wanted to be home with them. I just wanted a way for it to work. And I was talking to a friend, a really good friend during that time. And I said, why can't I be one of those people who makes money blogging? Because back then, like the mommy blogs were really big and recipe blogs were just starting to come into the scene. And she said to me something that changed my life forever. She said, Megan, you can. And I was just like, what? Oh my gosh, I can? And in that moment, she gave me permission to start a blog. And that night I was so excited about it. I was like, I can do this? Oh my gosh. So that night I started my blog, which is still running 15 years later, and the backbone of why we've been able to live our lives of freedom, honestly. And I'm so grateful for that moment, because if that had not happened, it wouldn't have set me up for the success after I left my job. I couldn't have leaned on that. This job is so flexible. I can do it from anywhere. I can do it whenever I want. It has given us the flexibility financially and with our time to live however we wanted to live. So that was a huge nudge and turning point in my life. And it was definitely the road less traveled, because especially back then, I think carving your way as an entrepreneur in the way that a lot of people do now was not quite as accepted and was not the norm. So I think I knew that too, because I was really careful about who I told that to. I told a few family members, I'm going to start a blog and I'm going to make money. And they're like, right, good luck, have fun. That's so cute. How adorable that you're going to do that. Like, people thought it was a joke. They thought I was absolutely off the rocker, but it worked. And I look back on that moment all the time with gratitude.
Mm-hmm. Sarah Jane, I pass it to you, my dear.
Megan, before we finish, any final words that you'd like to say? Anything we haven't touched on that you'd like to add?
I just want to say you all are so amazing and inspiring. I could do this every day. It's so fun to chat with people who just expand the way they think like you three do. So thank you. And I would also say to anyone listening to follow those nudges you need to do, even though it might feel like it's not part of the textbook. People are telling you that you shouldn't do it. If you know it needs to be done, take the first step into doing it. And like we've all said through our stories, you will know the next step after that, and you will be rewarded for it.
Bless you. Thank you. Diane, any final words?
Yes, it's always so wonderful to be here with you, Scott, and Sarah Jane, and our guest. And today that is you, Megan. It has been phenomenal. It has been phenomenal. So thank you guys for shining with me.
Scott.
In going with the theme, for anyone listening to this, follow the yellow brick road. You never know where it's going to lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, bless you all. Megan's blog, if I'm right in thinking, is Eat Blog Talk.
So that's my podcast and food blogger community, but my blog, my food blog, if you like recipes and yummy food, pipandebby.com.
pipanddebbie.com. I've put those and your meganporta.com into the chat. I will make sure that they are under the video in YouTube. So please, yes, Diane.
I was going to say, and her book link too, maybe.
Is that in the meganporta.com?
Yep.
It is. Yeah. So so please, I'll put that under the video on YouTube as well. So if you want to, and I would always say to everybody, if anything here has really resonated with you, because our websites will be there as well, please check out the websites. We've all got contact pages. Check out, if you've got a question, contact us, ask us. You know, this is why we do this, so that we can support people. So thank you, Megan. It's been a real pleasure. Wonderful topic. And it's so much appreciated. And obviously, thank you to Diane and to Scott as well. Next week, I'm being joined by Laura Bellarini, and she's going to be sharing the transformative power of creativity. Become a perspective shifter and rise above life challenges. So I hope you'll consider joining us for that. In the meantime, folks, take care, be safe, stay well. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you all. Bye.